Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Good morning, all, and welcome. I am Mike DeLand, the chairman of the board of the National Organization on Disability, and have been asked by the secretary to introduce this wonderful event today. And it's a particular privilege for me to so do as we celebrate the 11th anniversary of the ADA and the Department of Labor youth programs. It's a particular privilege for me because I had the honor of serving along with the Secretary, President Bush, 41. I, as the chairman of the Council of Environmental Quality, and she as director of the Peace Corps. And we became friends at that point, and so I can attest now what a wonderfully astute choice President Bush 43 made in naming Elaine Chao as Secretary of Labor. I can also personally attest that this department could not have a more able, visionary leader. And finally, an important further attestment, and that is that those of us with disabilities, those of us in this room today, the 54 million others not here with us today, could not have in Secretary Chao someone with any more understanding, caring, and commitment to our cause. What a wonderful, wonderful champion she is, and Elaine, we salute you. Well, today is a joyous day in celebration of the anniversary of the ADA. Many of us here remember well that steaming hot July day on the South Lawn when President Bush signed the legislation into law. Justin Dart was there, as were many others. But Justin Dart was more than there. Justin had toured each of our 50 states at least twice in paving the way for that legislation. And what a remarkable soldier he is. But for those of you who were not there, and indeed for those of us who were, let me share with you just very briefly President Bush's closing remarks on that momentous day. And he said, "And today, America welcomes into the mainstream of life all of our fellow citizens with disabilities. We embrace you for your abilities and for your disabilities, for our similarities, and indeed for our differences, for your past courage and your future dreams." Last year, the President said, we celebrated a victory of international freedom. Even the strongest person couldn't scale the Berlin Wall to gain the elusive promise of independence that lay just beyond. And so together, we rejoiced when that barrier fell. And now I sign legislation which takes a sledgehammer to another wall which, for far too many generations, separated Americans with disabilities from the freedom they could glimpse but could not grasp. Once again, we rejoice as this barrier falls. For united, together, we will not excuse, we will not tolerate discrimination in America. And then the President if I can get to the final page, and I ought to have this memorized, but the President, as he raised his pen to sign that legislation, said, and Andy is telling me, and he said, on your behalf, as well as the behalf of this entire country, I now lift the pen to sign the Americans with Disabilities Act and say, let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down. So that indeed was a wonderful day over a decade ago. But all of you know, and the ADA is now an integral part of the mosaic of our civil rights fabric. But all of you know that legislation by itself can't affect change. People do. People like Justin Dart. People like Senator Bob Dole. People like former President Bush. People like current President Bush, who recently announced his new Freedom Initiative, which will blaze new trails of accessibility. People like Elaine Chao, who has the tough task to smooth out those trails to make them travelable by all. And finally, the reason we're really here today is to turn over our cause to the leaders of the future, those who will lead us all. And one such person is with us today, Nicholas Novicki. Nick is 18 years old, a student in Connecticut in the Youth Leadership Program last summer. This summer, he is working for the Vector Company, and while he's the youngest of 75 students employed there, he has the second highest sales and has been made a field manager. Nicholas evaluated this youth program for Governor Rowland and made a presentation to the governor, which so moved him that he further endorsed the program and other technology programs for summer students. So in Nick, we have the embodiment of what is the essence of the ADA, someone who is doing it, living it, showing us day by day by his example. So Nick, it's a great pleasure and privilege for me to introduce you.
Hello, everybody. We had to make a little adjustment here. Sometimes it's a little tough being short, but what can we do? Well, my name is Nicholas Novicki, as I've been so kindly introduced. I live in Orange, Connecticut, and I recently, in June, graduated from Amity High School. I will be attending Temple University this fall in the... Thank you. I'm quite excited myself. In the Fox School of Business. I'm here as a representative from the Youth Leadership Forum program. This summer, as was said before, I'm working for Vector Marketing Corporation as a sales rep. I've been rated at one of the highest sales reps in my office, which has made it so that I've been able to be a field manager. This is great because it gives me a chance to help other people who are having problems with selling and give them the strategies that I use, which make me sell. Well, last summer, I represented the Youth Leadership Forum, the governor's selected group, in Hartford. This program was great because it really gave me a chance to meet other people with disabilities who are just as optimistic and hopeful of their future success and what they can do as I am. It also gave me a great chance to meet other people with disabilities who have to face the same barriers that I've had to face and will still have to keep facing. The instructors were really great. They gave us a ton of problems that we had to face. And the only way that we were going to face it was all working together as a whole so that we could each give apart what we're good at and help each other with what we weren't good at. This program helped us develop skills to meet our challenges and accept both our strengths and our weaknesses so that we could all work as a whole and get through each of our problems as we will in life. The program also gave me a great understanding of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Not only do I know the different laws which are under it now, but I now have learned how to advocate for not only myself, but also for other people. And not only that, but specific strategies and talking to future employers. Basically, what I can use to get myself ahead. This gave me a great chance to meet both local business people and national business sponsors so that later on, I'll have people that I know. And this program also really helped me pinpoint exactly what I wanted to do with my life, which is go into business. And not only did it help me pinpoint, but it also helped me get the confidence to know that I can succeed in it as somebody with disability. I now have the honor of introducing the Secretary of Labor, the Honorable Ellen L. Chao. Secretary Chao, the first Asian American woman appointed to the President's cabinet, she received her MBA from Harvard Business School. She received, prior to that, she received her undergraduate in economics from Mount Holyoke. And after this, she then went out and became the executive officer of the United Way. And prior to being the executive officer of the United Way, she was the director of the Peace Corps. So I'm very honored to introduce Secretary Chao.
Thank you, Nicholas, for that wonderful introduction. What Nicholas was trying basically to say is I couldn't hold the job before I got this one. Thank you, Nicholas, also for sharing with us your wonderful, wonderful story. And thank you, Mike, for inspiring us with your comments as well. I had the privilege of working with Mike when he was at the White House in the first Bush administration. And Mike, you were a tremendous source of wisdom and counsel at that time. And as we embark upon this adventure together, I look forward to reaching out and asking for your counsel and advice as we go on as well. Thank you. We have a tremendously inspiring group of people with us today. I am so proud to see all of you, and thank you so much for being here. We also have people who are watching us on the department's webcast, and I want to thank the Department of Labor employees who are tuning in. This is such an important event. We have such heroes and heroines within our midst, and I'm so glad that we're all here to celebrate. We are so privileged to have Justin and Yoshiko Dart with us. We know how busy you are, and so we want to thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to echo what's been said before, that without Justin Dart, we probably would not have an Americans with Disability today. Justin. So thank you for your lifelong work to this community and to our country. It is a personal thrill for me to see you and Yoshiko, and I know that I speak on behalf of the audience as well. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I also want to welcome Andy Imperato. We were together actually at an event with Secretary Thompson and Secretary Page, and he had a wonderful line. What was it? That he was being introduced to speak, and he said, "I'm a lawyer with bipolar, and I'm not used to being treated this nicely." Isn't it? So Andy, thank you for your work in extending new opportunities to people with disabilities. Andy and Mike are always there, and we want to thank you very much. And behind me, as I'm sure you have noticed already, yes it is Teddy Pendergrass. And this is one person, one celebrity, one great American that needs no introduction to most of you, I am sure. So thank you so much for coming, Teddy. Your musical skills are legendary. We still enjoy them to this day. And your work on behalf of inner city kids with spinal cord disabilities is truly, truly inspiring. Teddy, you are a hero to all of us, and thank you so much for being here. I'm also joined on stage by Beth Scott and Christopher Waddell. Did I pronounce that right? Waddell. Two medalists, I'm serious, two medalists from the Paralympic Games. And she's got her gold medal with her. Congratulations to you both on your accomplishments. And there are apparently over 200 local high school students from the School to Work and the School to Careers program here today. And where are they? Just let us see where you are. Well, you're dispersed all the way around here. Thank you for being here too. I'm also really pleased that the Wild Zappers are here. You're gonna get a treat. And they're going to be gracing us with a performance later on in the program. So we'll be seeing them. Well, as you have heard and as you have seen, thank you. And if you have remembered, many of us around this room and on the stage do remember. It was 11 years ago on this day, during this hour, that's why it's so special, President George Bush stood on the south lawn of the White House to sign the most historic civil rights legislation in more than a generation. With a stroke of a pen, the president, on our behalf, extended a welcoming hand to Americans with disabilities, inviting them to participate fully in the promise and the opportunities that America has to offer. And for 11 remarkable years, the Americans with Disabilities Act has lived up to our expectations, and because of the ADA, doors once closed are now open, patrons once turned away are now welcomed, barriers once impassable are now leveled, discrimination once tolerated is now illegal. In the first decade of the ADA, America worked hard to meet its requirements, building wheelchair ramps and so forth. But today, we have set our sights higher. We want to find new ways to go beyond what is mandated by the law and do what is required by conscience. we are working to find new ways to more fully include Americans with disabilities into the mainstream of our economic and social lives. Standing upon the foundation laid by his father, President George W. Bush believes that our next challenge is to explore new frontiers that will bring more Americans with disabilities into the workforce and into the mainstream of American life. It was an honor for me to serve the first President Bush, and it is a constant inspiration for me to serve in the cabinet of this President Bush. I don't know how many of you had a chance to speak with the president and to kind of really know him. He's a man of great compassion, great integrity, and like his father, he has an extraordinary dedication to extending the full promise of American life to people with disabilities. This is truly a passion for him. It is one of the most important, tangible expressions of President Bush's commitment to making American life more just, more compassionate, more inclusive. And President George W. Bush's personal commitment to this issue is reflected in our work at the Department of Labor to expand our programs for people with disabilities. This year, we have doubled the budget for the Office of Disability Employment Policy. And in the near future, we're going to be announcing the first presidential appointment of an Assistant Secretary for Disability Employment Policy. Our goal in taking these steps is to be a leader within the federal government in the effort to implement President Bush's new Freedom Initiative for Americans with Disability. This initiative will increase access to assistive technologies, expand educational opportunities, increase the ability of Americans with disabilities to enter the workforce, and extend their access into daily community life. Now, this administration recognizes that America cannot afford to leave anyone behind as we enter the new century. We've got to give every American the chance to reach their full potential in life and particularly access the dignity of work in the workplace. This is essential because we know that America's demographic destiny points to a future of worker shortages. The baby boomers are aging. We'll soon be entering a period when there's going to be a serious labor shortage, and it's going to challenge our ability to support our retirees and keep our economy functioning at the highest levels. What was once only a moral imperative has now become an economic imperative as well. Our economy, the world's economy, needs the talents and skills of people with disabilities. In the next 5 years, America will need over 1.5 million internet technology professionals. Businesses are increasingly recognizing the value of bridging the gap between workers with disability and high-tech jobs. New technologies and workplace arrangements are enabling these workers to fill these very important positions. And nearly 2,500 companies are working to bring assistive technologies to Americans with disability. On October 24th of this year, as you well know, we will be sponsoring the National Disability Mentoring Day. This year, that's great. And this year, we've got participants included such as Microsoft, Singular Wireless, AOL, Booz Allen Hamilton, and many, many others. This program is going to give students with disabilities very valuable exposure to available career opportunities. And employers are going to have a chance to learn that people with disabilities have truly incredible talents and abilities and talents that will be very valuable to their companies. Now, although our national unemployment rate is low, nearly 70% of Americans with disabilities, most of whom, as you well know, are willing and ready to work, are still unemployed. That number has remained steady for the past 12 years, and that is simply unacceptable. And we've got to do better. The President's New Freedom Initiative reflects our belief that America is a work in progress. This initiative is going to help Americans with disability buy homes and computers, receive special needs education, and enjoy better access to the institutions of daily life that the rest of us take for granted. The New Freedom Initiative is also going to integrate Americans with disabilities into the workforce. The President's plans provide low-interest loans for new computers and other equipment needed to telework from home, as well as new transportation plans to help disabled employees travel to work. And the President is committed, President Bush is committed to giving Americans with disability the ability to choose their own support services and maintain their health benefits when they return to work. And in October, during National Disability Awareness Month, the President will host the Task Force on Employment of Adults with Disabilities. The meeting is the first step toward implementation of the New Freedom Initiative, serving two primary goals. First, we're going to develop a strategic plan with other departments to tear down barriers to employment for people with disabilities. And second, we're going to hold a series of information gathering discussions on topics ranging from increasing access to assistive technologies to integrating workers with disabilities into the workforce. We'll also be looking to address many of the concerns facing our young people with disabilities. And I am very pleased today to announce the creation of the Youth Advisory Committee. This is a committee of diverse young adults who will provide valuable input to the department and to me on issues like healthcare, employment, and education. In every possible way, we're looking to expand and improve our programs for Americans with disabilities. Last month at the 21st Century Summit on June 20th, I announced several new grants totaling over $10 million in funding for these programs. And these grants are going to help customize services for our friends and neighbors in the disabled community at one-stop career centers, as well as create model programs that will serve the needs and interests of youths with disabilities. I am especially excited about a grant that's going to create high-tech programs at local high schools to expand the skills and the interests of teenagers with disabilities as they begin to plan for their futures in the workforce. I'm also very pleased. Oops, there goes the mic. There. I'm also very pleased to announce that the Office of Disability Policy has prepared a new educational kit. You've got to see it. It's wonderful. To provide important information to state and local governments, organizations, employers, and individuals about disability employment opportunities. I'm also very excited that the Department of Labor is a leader in giving students with disabilities the opportunity to experience public service. And we have a number of college students today who are spending their summers at internship programs organized by the Workforce Recruitment Program. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your service this summer, and we're delighted that you're here. This program is jointly sponsored by the Department of Defense and the Department of Labor, and it provides paid summer internships and permanent jobs for college and university students with disabilities. This summer, there are more than 300 students in this program, 110 of whom are in the Washington, D.C. area. As I mentioned, we are thankful that we have them with us today and throughout the summer. Thank you so much for being here today to commemorate a very important milestone, the 11th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I'm so pleased that all of us can be together. I feel like we should give each other a group hug or something, a huge hug for what has happened in the last 11 years and to remind ourselves that there's still much to do. I'm counting on all of you. Please work with us and those of us who are on the stage today. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to follow that, but I'll do my best. My name is Jamie Watts. I'm 20 years old, and I'm from Eolia, Missouri. I'm a communications major going into my junior year at the University of Missouri-Columbia. I am a representative from the Workforce Recruitment Program. I work in the Office of Disability Employment Policy. The internship has given me a chance to focus my career goals. I knew that I wanted to work to communicate with people, but I wasn't sure how to employ my abilities in the workforce. Through my internship at the Office of Disability Employment Policy, I've learned that I need to utilize my abilities in communication to work for people with disabilities. I've learned so much about disability rights and disability culture. Under a remarkable team of mentors, I've learned what it truly means to work toward progress on disability issues. I now have the honor of introducing the Honorable Robert Dole. Senator Bob Dole is one of our nation's foremost political figures. Throughout his distinguished career, he's demonstrated unparalleled leadership. He's championed the cause of Americans with disabilities. Senator Dole's remarkable achievement pays tribute to the strengths and values that have made America great. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Dole.
Well, the key to success is drink a lot of Pepsi. Maybe next year we can get Britney Spears to come. That'd be all right. I must say, since I made that little commercial, man, I flew all the way from here to California to say 2 words. And, which is easy, boy, you know. And I've gotten a couple of dirty old man letters as a result of that commercial. But I've written back that, you know, the dog was barking, not me. I wasn't barking. I was calm, collected. But anyway, it beats working, so, and... And we get a lot of free Pepsi, and she got $10 million. So in any event, well, Madam Secretary and all the distinguished guests, and I see some of my old friends out there that we've worked with. How many years? You're only 25, but you started young. So, but in any event, it's great to be here and great to see so many young people here. And when I was sitting up when Elaine was, the Secretary was speaking, I was just thinking back, you know, when I joined this group. Nobody really joins these groups by choice, particularly if you have a disability. But I was thinking about how the changes, just looking around this room at the athletes and the others and our stars here today and all the people in the audience and all the changes we've made in the last 55 years. That's a long time for most of you, but for me and Senator Thurman, it's just another day. So. And I've thought about a lot of things that I've done in the Congress and politics and all that. And of course, this is a bipartisan problem, bipartisan issue, and it's had bipartisan support. And one thing I've learned in the 37 years I spent in the Congress, that most things that really are good for us and good for America have bipartisan support. I can't think of very many pieces of legislation that one party shoved down the throat of the other party that really lasted very long or really served any real useful purpose. And I look at the ADA as an example of bipartisanship. Liberals, conservatives, moderates, Democrats, Republicans, people who didn't really have any politics, it didn't make any difference. And I look back at the first speech I made on the Senate floor 32 years ago was about disabilities. Not many people were talking about disabilities then, or what we should do about disabilities, and I wasn't certain myself. But I had one, and I knew that others had real disabilities, and not much was happening. I know a lot of members of Congress in both parties made great speeches at a time you couldn't get to the Capitol in a wheelchair because we didn't have we had barriers to access. And here we were up there talking about great things we were doing, and the very people who would benefit could not get into the gallery. And I don't mean that anybody was hypocritical. It just shows how far we were behind reality. And so I've had this opportunity that comes once in a lifetime to all of us, and we're all going to be leaders. There are leaders here, leaders throughout this audience. My wife was once Secretary of Labor, and I remember my first visit to the Labor Department. The security guard was bringing me up the steps, and I said, "How many people work here?" "Oh," he said, "about half." I know it's changed since Elaine's been here. It's about 101%. It's only, but anyway, what I really wanted was a number, 5,000, 10,000. And so I learned then, and I've learned since, and I've done a lot of things since leaving politics, and you have a little chance to get a better feel for it. You know, I was going through the airport here about 3 months ago, and I met this young man in a wheelchair. He couldn't do anything. He had to talk through his computer. And he was being denied homebound benefits because he went on vacation with his children. I mean, here's a man who's trapped in his wheelchair. It takes 2 hours for him to dress in the morning. And just because he wants to associate with his family outside the home, our Medicare law does not permit that. So I volunteered to be his lawyer and volunteered to try to change this. And there are a lot of Republicans and Democratic support. And I'll be looking at Margot and Justin and all the others who work on these things. Can you imagine that? We've come so far. And here's a man who probably shouldn't be alive. But I had a letter from him just last week. He said, "Senator, I haven't heard from you." He said, "I only have so much time." Well, I've been in the hospital myself, and I got a little behind. But we're working on it through staff, and we're going to have a lot of support, and I feel certain that the administration will support it. We're not asking people, you know. We know there are abuses in programs. We know things happen that shouldn't, but when someone, you know, if you're not going to have a chance to be with your children, your quality of life is going to go down, down, down. And I would just say on a different note, and I'll conclude here, because you know, once you're out of Congress, you get a chance to speak. It's hard to put you down. So Senator Thurmond has a record, 24 hours and 17 minutes. And I guess he's going to speak next year. But in any event, one thing I did when I got out of politics, I put together a couple of books. One was called Great Political Wit, just a collection of stories that people had given me and others I've picked up. And the subtitle was Laughing Almost All the Way to the White House. John Kemp's read the book. He knows all about it. And we had a lot of fun with the book. I think the best story in the whole book is attributed to Winston Churchill, who was seated next to Lady Astor one night at dinner, and they got in a big, big argument over something. And she finally turned to him. She said, "Winston, if you were my husband, I would poison your coffee." He said, "If you were my wife, I would drink it." So I've always had the feeling that people need to laugh. I mean, if we have disabilities, doesn't mean we don't laugh. We have a lot of good times, and a lot of happy things happen in our lives. It's not just all gloom and doom, and we can't decide what to do next because we don't know what to do next. And then after that book was fairly successful, we did one called Great Presidential Wit. I mean, I'm onto something. I can have great senatorial wit, great sheriff's wit, great, I can keep going on books. But we ranked the presidents on who was the funniest and who was the least funny in history. And this was during the so-called Florida recount, and we didn't know what to do with Bush and Gore. So neither of whom had been very funny up to that point. And so we had a separate chapter called Waiting in the Wings. And if it's reprinted, well, obviously it'll be one less waiting. But in any event, and I still vote every time I go to Florida, figuring there may be another recount. So in any event, but what we did, we tried to rank who's the funniest president. Now, if I ask you to write it down here, I'm not certain how many would get it right. We decided, and this is just a group of friends of mine, that number one was Abraham Lincoln. You say, Abraham Lincoln? And here's a tragic-looking figure. He had all these personal tragedies. He had the Civil War. He had everything happen, could happen. But he understood that laughter and humor and a sense of humor can be a bridge sometimes, can get you over some very tough times, just as many in this audience could tell you. For example, in an audience like this, somebody jumped up and said, "Mr. President, you're two-faced." He said, "Do you think if I had another one, I'd use the one I have?" That was his humor. And there weren't any better people at humor than Jack Kennedy and Ronald Reagan. They had a better. Lincoln wrote his own stuff, and he didn't have any late night shows, Leno and Letterman, those kind, or spin doctors or people. But Reagan had this disarming quality about him, and he stood up one day and said, "I've been getting a lot of flack lately since I ordered those B-1s. He said, "How was I to know they were airplanes?" He said, "I thought they were vitamins for the troops." So anyway, that's sort of the Reagan room. And just one other example, Calvin Coolidge. Silent Cal, never smiled, never. They said, "What do you do for exercise?" I said, "I get my picture taken." That was sort of his daily routine. But he was seated next to a very distinguished lady one night at a state dinner, and she had bet her husband that she'd get him to talk. And she turned him about halfway through dinner and said, "Mr. President, I bet my husband I could get you to say 3 words." He said, "You lose." So he was number 8 in our book. Number 41 was Millard Fillmore from Buffalo, and then I won't. But Millard was so cold in Buffalo, and it snows a lot. I don't think he got out a lot and never said much. Now, what does this have to do with what we're doing here? Probably not a lot. I didn't bring any books for sale or any of that thing. But it makes a point. When I was in a hospital years and years ago, they used to roll me around to cheer up other patients who had real problems. I'd sort of picked up this while I worked in a drugstore as a young person way back a long time ago in Russell, Kansas. And my father was had a good sense of humor. And I think it's very necessary. But I want to conclude by saying just how proud I am of all the people who are working in the disability community. It wasn't many years ago, if you're in a wheelchair, they line you all up in the morning, you just look straight ahead, and nothing ever happened. You couldn't get into a place to eat because of a curb. You couldn't get in the Capitol building because of curbs. You couldn't do a lot of things because of curbs. And now we have all this new technology just making it easier and easier. And who knows what is going to happen in 10 or 15 or 20 years. And I see all the young people here, young people with disabilities and young people without disabilities. Think of the technology in the next 10, 15 years, what it's going to mean for you, what it's going to do for your life and your quality of life and your family and your children and your grandchildren. And this is what it's all about. It's commitment. It's commitment. It's commitment by corporations to reach out and hire young people or people of any age with disabilities. And I used to have a little foundation called the Dole Foundation. We raised about $10 million. And our only purpose was to try to get people in the mainstream of employment. And it worked very well as long as I was in the Senate, but once I left the Senate, I wasn't voting on anything, so many of the corporations, well, that guy, he can't do anything for us. And so Paul Hearn, who was the leader of my foundation, we finally had to, well, particularly at Paul's untimely death, we had to wrap it up. But now we have the American Association of Persons with Disabilities that I think has a great future. It's got a great future for all people with disabilities. The more numbers you have, the more leverage you have when it comes to getting bargains and economies of scale and all these things where you can save money because you've got group power. And that's what it's all about. And I'm proud that our little Dole Foundation, particularly Paul Hearn, played a role in that. But as we look back, and John Kemp played a role too, many others in this audience played a role. And so I would just say that, stop. And you look back at all the things you think you did that were important. When you were in public service or whatever job you might have, Justin could give us stories and others. I think if I've done anything that's really meant anything to anybody, it's dealing with my disability, which is not severe compared to many in this audience. And trying to be an example and trying to be an inspiration to others with disabilities to let them know that, there aren't any limits. There are no limits. You get a few breaks in life and you get a lot of people helping you and you get a lot of support from federal programs, yes, and state programs and people like Elaine Chao and others and many in this audience. It all helps. And in fact, I've got a call to make right now. A lady in Pennsylvania, she's watched me and she said, "Why do you always carry that pen in your right hand?" Well, I guess it's psychological. It makes me think that I'm doing something with that right hand. And she does a lot of public speaking. She's a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and she's embarrassed about what to do. And so I'm going to talk to her today or tomorrow and explain why I've done this all my life. I don't know, a lot of people. Plus, other people want to grab your hand and shake it good, and that's kind of painful. So I just want to salute. I want to salute all the people, all the Margos and all the Justins and all the others in this audience. And let's give all the leaders, not Bob Dole, but all these other people who are out there every day on the front lines making a difference for you or somebody in the audience who may be tomorrow. You may join our group. It's never by choice. So I want to hear a big round of applause for all those people who are out there every day doing everything that ought to be done. And 11 is a lucky number. This is the 11th year. And I look for great things to happen. And I'm just very proud to be here today and to be part of this ceremony, which I believe is very, very important. It means a lot to a lot of people. Thank you.
Good morning. Y'all can do better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's better. I'm coming here today to speak to you about the high school high-tech program. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Cornelius Butler. I'm coming here today from Bainbridge, Georgia. I am currently going into my sophomore year at Bainbridge College. Currently, my GPA is 4.0. Now, most people who see me say, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have a disability, but I do have a disability. My disability is that I'm legally blind. And unfortunately, I have been told by several doctors that I will never, ever have the privilege of being able to drive. But enough about me. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about the high school high-tech program. The high school high-tech, I was introduced to the high school high-tech program about 2 years ago. When I first got involved with the program, the first thing we did when I was in the program was go down to NASA and see the John Glenn launch. We spent about 4 days down there. We got the complete tour of all of the facilities and everything. While we were there, we were able to go into the tour building and able to see the building that simulates the actual real-time launch. If you ever go to NASA, I highly recommend it. It's really cool. But since I've been involved with this program, the program, its main goal is to get students who have disabilities involved in careers of science, engineering, and technology. It does this by having peer mentoring, job shadowing, and actual on-the-job experience. Because of my involvement with this program, I have been traveling across the state of Georgia giving speeches about my involvement with it and the Youth Leadership Forum that I've also been involved in. And because of that, the involvement, I was recently asked to give a speech at the Georgia Industries for the Blind at Bainbridge, where it was a legislative breakfast where Representative Sanford Bishop from the 2nd Congressional District of Georgia and the Georgia Labor Commissioner, Micah Thurman, was there. And after he heard my speech, he got right there and offered me a fully paid summer internship with the Department of Labor. Which I am on right now, actually. The main thing I really want to stress about this program is, as the Secretary said, we are ready and willingly able to workforce. She said there's only 70% of us. There's 70% of us that are unemployed. I'm here today to tell you that we are ready to work and we're able to work. Thankfully, at that speech, I also commended Georgia for being one of the largest states when it comes to high school high tech. We're currently at 300 strong. Unfortunately, the high school high tech program is in only 18 states, but I would like to urge, Madam Secretary, if you could expand this program to all 50 states, because because I am living, breathing proof that this program does work, and this program proves that there is no dis and disability, only ability. Thank you. I now have the privilege of introducing you to Mr. Andrew J. Imparato. He is the President and CEO of the American Association of Peoples with Disabilities. He previously served on the National Council on Disability, where he oversaw the printing of publishment of reports on the federal government's enforcement of disability issues. He is a prolific speaker, and he is nationally known for his work on dissolving the issues relating to people with mental illness. Without further ado, here's Mr. Imparato.
For those of you that heard me speak yesterday, you'll be happy to know that my cell phone is turned off. It's really a pleasure to be here. I kind of feel like a student who is addressing his faculty. The folks that are in this room are the reason that I'm here. People like John Kemp, Pat Wright, Justin Dart, Mark Abristo, who's making an exit. Lots of mentors for me in this room. And for the young people that are up here on the stage, I want to say that the leadership of this movement is ready for you. They're ready to mentor you. They're ready to work with you. They're ready to learn from you. And that is what I have experienced as a relatively young leader. I want to thank Secretary Chao for all of your leadership. Secretary Chao made time in her schedule yesterday to come to an event at HHS talking about implementation of the President's Olmstead Executive Order, which is the most exciting thing that I've seen coming out of this administration, and it's a very exciting thing, and it's a great opportunity for all of us to move forward on not just life in the community, but employment, because employment is part of life in the community, and Secretary Chao has a critical role to play on the council that will be implementing that executive order. It's an honor to be on a stage with Teddy Pendergrass, who spoke at the March for Justice that we participated in last October, with Bob Dole, who's a lot funnier than I am, but I'm happy to say that Abraham Lincoln was bipolar just like me, and that's part of the reason why he was so funny. I'm here to really thank the Department of Labor for their leadership in sponsoring National Disability Mentoring Day. This is something that started 2 years ago. The person who really kicked it off, Jonathan Young, is going to be working with my organization, AAPD, to make it even bigger this year. So thank you, Secretary Chow, for your leadership on Mentoring Day. Thank you, staff of the Presidential Task Force on Employment of Adults with Disabilities, for spearheading this effort, and particularly Bill McKinnon, Richard Horn, and everybody else on the staff. Thank you, Jennifer Sheehy, for going to the White House. We are very excited to have you there. And thank you to the corporate leaders who are stepping up to the plate to participate in Disability Mentoring Day and all of the other good initiatives that are coming out of the Department of Labor and other parts of the administration. People like Susan Palmer from Singular Wireless, who I see in the second row, people like Meredith Alday from Microsoft, Debbie Fletter from America Online, Jeff Schaefer and Meg O'Connell from Booz Allen and Hamilton. It's your leadership that will make this a true partnership and a success. We're not going to change the employment rate unless we all work together. And I want to close with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, which I think has a lot to say to the young people who are here today. Dr. King said, "Everyone can be great because everybody can be served, because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. All you need is a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." Thank you.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm going to begin this with a line from the preamble. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are the magic words of the American Creed and what has brought us here today, July 26, 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kavita Krishnaswamy. It is my greatest honor to celebrate this 11th anniversary of the signing of the ADA with all of you. We've come a long way over the past decade. I'm very grateful for it's made a difference in my life in such a special way. Last summer, I was among 25 selected students to partake in Maryland's first Youth Leadership Forum, led by Kathy Raggio. It was a unique leadership training program, proving to be both educational, motivational, and culturally enriching for high school students with all types of disabilities. We had a chance to distinguish ourselves in a new way and realize the highest degree of our potential. We also had the opportunity to meet many successful individuals with disabilities. We developed a mentorship relationship with them so that they could help us teach the beauty of overcoming obstacles. With this knowledge that I gained from the Youth Leadership Forum, I began my senior year at Wild Lake High School. Encouraged by my home teacher, Mrs. Jenny Helsel, who's here now, I graduated in the top 5% and maintained a 4.0 GPA throughout my four years in high school. I've also been named the Outstanding Youth Award from the Governor's Committee on Employment with People with Disabilities in Maryland. I'm all very extremely proud of this. Now I'm moving on to an important phase in my life, going on to college. In the fall, I'll be attending the University of Maryland in Baltimore County to major in computer science. Now, my greatest challenge is finding funding for personal care service. However, with the tools I've gained from the Youth Leadership Forum and the immense love from my family and friends, I know that I can conquer everything. Furthermore, my wildlife experience has sowed a sacred seed of obligation to contribute to my society. This seed has now matured into my aspiration for humanity. It is my dream to enrich the lives of people who have disabilities worldwide. Since our great nation, the United States of America, is succeeding in removing barriers for people with disabilities, I believe it's now our turn to educate other nations of our success. This is my greatest ambition in life, and together I know we can achieve it. Thank you. I now have the honor of introducing Mr. Teddy Pendergrass. Mr. Teddy Pendergrass' story is one of the remarkable musical achievements. After attaining success as a member of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Mr. Pendergrass became a best-selling solo artist with notable hits such as Close the Door and Turn Off the Lights. Despite the near-fatal car accident in 1992 that has resulted in quadriplegia, Mr. Pendergrass' voice remained intact, and he continues to be a major force in the music industry. I now have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Pendergrass.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. Very embarrassing, but I appreciate it. I really would like to say just good morning to Secretary Chow and all of our distinguished guests gathered here today. I was very surprised and pleased to hear the words that Mr. Dole said, the words that Secretary Chow said, because it is so meaningful. They put things so eloquently and poignant, and it's extremely important. We pay close attention to the words that these eloquent gentlemen people spoke this morning. I am happy to be here to celebrate the 11th anniversary of Americans with Disabilities Act. What a wonderful day to launch Disability Mentoring Day and to celebrate the ADA. I am elated to be living and working at this point and time in history, building on the passion and innovative thinking of these 11 years. We are now poised to create greater opportunities for all individuals with disabilities, and especially for the next generation. Yes, the next generation of leaders with disabilities who will redefine ability and expand the world of opportunity. During the 19 years since I began rolling through life, I have met many folks with disabilities who were locked out of the opportunity to pursue their dreams. The awesome stigma, the perception of not being capable to work and contribute, just clouded their horizons. When I was young, my dreams had always been centered around performing and recording. After my accident, I knew I would return to my singing career. With the help of great friends and the opportunity to continue recording and receiving gold and platinum records, I recently returned to the stage for sold-out concerts. For you younger folks who don't really know who I am, I'm the Teddy P that Outkast acknowledges. You know who Outkast is, a rap group? Okay. But for your parents, they know me for some other tunes, some other things, some other songs, possibly for your birth. The fact that I was not denied the opportunity to do what I love is what is crucial. Young people, oh God. I didn't write that. I will not take responsibility for that matter. Young people, whether you desire to teach school, travel to space, get a corner office in corporate America, or create animations for the movies, you'll have unending possibilities due to the advances in technology, the strength of the ADA, and your desire to seize the opportunities presented. The ADA has been a transforming piece of legislation, making it a violation of federal law to discriminate against folks with disabilities. I must say that I was a part of the ADA. I was involved. I testified for Senate. I was involved in that entire piece of legislation. So I'm extremely happy to be here to help celebrate it. As we move forward in this decade, let us continue to embody the principles of the ADA and make sure that we do not discriminate by curtailing the access to information. And let us make the pledge to our young people that we will align ourselves with them to enhance their future as leaders in the world. Thank you very much and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andy Tao, and I'm 24 years old. I graduated from the Rochester Institute of Technology with a bachelor's degree in biology and a certificate in multimedia development. Thank you. When I was in college, I won the grand prize in the RIT writing contest, was vice president of my fraternity, Kappa Phi Theta, and president of the American Sign Language House. Thank you. In addition, I was a recipient of several scholarships, including an NTID fellowship, the William Hearst Scholarship, and the Miss America Scholarship. And I am currently working as a biologist for the Food and Drug Administration. I am now participating in the workforce recruitment program, and that is how I landed my job with FDA. The program has made a big difference in my life. It helped me to see the excellent career opportunities the government has to offer. Wow. They are significant. Many people there that I have met at the department have shared in honing my career goals and in my discussions with them in order that I may be able to have more excellent advice from them and be able to execute my dreams. Now, I would like to introduce two Paralympians, Beth Scott and Christopher Waddell. And Madam Secretary, I believe you have some gold medals of your own.
want to thank Zoe also, who's always there for us and who always helps out. So Zoe, thank you very much. We have some special gold medals. Shelley, you can come up also. And Stan, so we'll get you, make sure that you get credit. We have some gold medals, and we want to thank you both for being here. Aren't these nice? Look at these. The Department of Labor, United States of America gold medals. And we've got some, if I can, to Nick. We've got one for you. I don't know whether you need to come up at this point. Do you want me? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. And we've also had one for Kavita. Thank you very much for your inspirational story. And Kavita, aren't we all rooting for her? And Jamie? We've got one for you as well. Cornelius? You get one too. We also have, I'm really into encouraging others, and, as we talk about each of our lives and what we can do, we need to encourage each other a lot. So we have all these wonderful students who are with us for the summer and everything. We want to thank them as well. And I've got a special certificate for them. They're lying out on the desk. There are so many of you, so unfortunately I won't be able to give it to you in person. But when you go out for the students, please pick one up. We want to say thank you for all that you do. We also have a special certificate for Jennifer. Jen, but Jen, we're not going to... You can, well, I'll step down. Actually, it's just a certificate of appreciation for all that she has done for the Office of Secretary of Labor and the Presidential Task Force on Employment of Adults with Disability. And this is another way to make sure that when she hangs this in her new office of the White House, she'll remember us. I also forgot to tell you, this is like the new handbook that ODEP has put out, so it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and I hope you get that as well. And we have two wonderful, wonderful, gosh, where are they now? We have some two wonderful Paralympic medalists, as I mentioned. And since it takes a Zappers a while to get set up, let me introduce you to them again and have them say a few words as well, because they're so special. They came all this way. It's Paralympic medalists Beth Scott and Christopher Waddell, and we want them to say a few words as well. Thanks.
Well, good afternoon. I'm so glad I'm able to speak to you this afternoon in this great celebration. It's been such a wonderful 11 years. We've seen so much advancement and we've taken so many great steps. But as in sport, there's always room for improvement. That's what my coaches keep telling me. I am visually impaired. I am legally blind, and I have been since birth. And my disability, I consider a very important part of who I am, and I'm very proud to be a person with a disability. I'm proud of the accomplishments that I've been able to do despite my disability. And when I represent all of you at the Paralympics, it makes me very proud. Being a gold medalist, I find it to be one of the most important responsibilities that I have, is sharing that with all of you. And these medals are not just solely mine that I've earned and worked hard for, but they are also belong to all of you that have helped me, inspire me to get there. So thank you. And I welcome anyone, if there's time afterwards, to please take a moment and take this opportunity to let the gold rub off on you, because that's what's important. This is not chocolate. It will not melt. It better not, or I'm going to have some complaints to the Sydney Paralympic Organizing Committee. But thank you so much for having us here tonight, this afternoon, and it's been wonderful seeing all you here. And this might be a good forum to say that I'm looking for work. So I'm in search of getting a job. I just finished my swimming career, so I want to experience life on dry land. So I'm free to talk about that afterwards as well. Thank you. Here's Chris Waddell.
Well, thanks, Beth. Oh, good, this is working. As a Paralympic athlete, I want to say that this is an amazing opportunity for us. I think the ADA certainly is an opportunity for everybody. As an athlete, it kind of goes hand in hand with what's going on with the ADA. Polite society, I think, oftentimes has taught us that it's impolite to stare. It's impolite to look. And if nobody ever looks, then they never get a chance to understand. And I think in a lot of ways, that's where the Paralympics come in, is this is an amazing opportunity for people to come and stare, for people to come and look, and for people to come and understand. It's an environment that is not a difficult environment. It's not an uncomfortable environment for the fans. And people can understand, but I think also people can be surprised and change perceptions. And that's a lot of what this is about, is changing perceptions. As somebody in a wheelchair, it's amazing for me to think about getting to the top of a snowy mountain. But yet every day in the winter, I'm able to get to the top of a snowy mountain and I'm able to turn around and go 60, 65 miles an hour down it. And I think that... So I think that sports and the ADA certainly is going hand in hand, because it can't be, this is not something that can happen on just one front. It has to happen on a variety of different fronts. And I certainly want to thank the corporate people as well, because this is happening from the government, but also the corporate people who are deciding to take a stand, to embrace this. It really is important. I've been associated with the Hartford Insurance Company for a long time, and they're the first major corporation to support a team of disabled athletes. And as a corporation, that's an amazing first step, because embracing somebody for what they do well is something that really is going to go a long way. So thank all of you for your support. Thank everybody here for all your help, and let's continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, the Wild Zappers.
The mic. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, it's back. Whew, I thought I lost my voice there. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to share with you the Wild Zappers, about people who are deaf. And we call that a disability? No, we can do. We have abilities, and understand dancing means what? To us, it's our way of communicating with you. As well, we are showing you the deaf can do anything except hear. Starting with the song, Don't You Play Games With My Heart.
Even in my heart, I see my heart, with my heart, my heart. I should have known from the start, from my heart, my heart. Quit playing games with my heart. Quit playing games with my heart. My heart, my heart.
Now the next song. Oops, laryngitis, sorry. Now it's my mother's song. It's a special person in your lives, and that's what I want you to be thinking about.
You taught me everything you've given me. I always keep it inside. You're the driving force in my life. Yeah. There isn't anything or anyone that I could be, and it just wouldn't feel right. If I didn't have you by my side. Oh, you were there for me to love and care for me when skies were gray. Whenever I was down, you were always there to comfort me. And no one else can be what you have been to me. You will always be, you will always be the girl in my life for all time. Mama, Mama, you know I love you. Ooh, you know I love you, Mama. Mama, you're the queen of my heart. Your love is like tears from the stars. Yes, it is. Mama, I just want you to know, loving you is like food to my soul. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, you're always down for me, have always been around for me, even when I was bad. You've shown me right from my wrongs. Yes, you did. And you took up for me when everyone was down on me. You always did understand. You gave me strength to go on. There were so many times looking back when I was so afraid. And then you come to me and say to me, I could face anything. And no one else can do what you've done for me. You'll always